A very good morning from the southwest coastal 300 in Scotland. Today I'm starting out at a place called Wanlockhead, which is Scotland's highest village. I am going to be doing a little bit of sightseeing here, taking a look and seeing what's about, and then I'm going to be driving the Mennock Pass over towards Loch Doon and seeing lots and lots of things en route with a bit of luck. So the sun is coming out, it has been raining, the day is turning into a good one, so consider joining me and we'll explore some of this scenery together. Let's go! I have made it into the heart of the village. Just over the road there was the Lead Mining Museum. It is very, very quiet. I've not really seen anybody since I've been down here. I was going to go and have a look at the museum, but I figured whilst the weather's nice, take advantage of it outside here. The Southern Upland Way, that sign says. I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. That is a very, very long distance route that goes right away across Scotland, passes through Wanlockhead, which is where I am. Over here is a little sign of some walks you can do in the village and around the village. This is a heritage trail. Unfortunately, I don't have time to do that. It is probably a half-day activity. I instead am going to venture down to the mine and cottages, which I think is down this little pathway. Wanlockhead, by the way, is 466 metres above sea level. It's about 1,500 feet, and as I said, it is Scotland's highest village. Over there is an old beam engine. Although when I say old, it's relatively modern by the standards of when these mines were first dug. These mines were built mostly during the last 400 or 500 years, and they were built for the intention of mining zinc and copper and silver and even gold in the hills around this village. Back then, the techniques for digging the mines were essentially just digging it out with spades and any kind of tools that they could muster. That beautiful little creek. Lovely walk, I've got to say. Look at this. Lots of pathway and rolling green hills ahead of me. And just to finish that off, I read on a signpost that one of the tests when they were digging the mines way back then for making sure that there was enough oxygen down there was to use a candle, because essentially the flame of the candle, if it started to change colour or if it started to decrease in size, it would indicate to the miners that the oxygen levels perhaps weren't good enough for humans to be down there. And having said I wasn't going to walk the whole trail, it's turning out that I'm pretty much already halfway around, so I might as well continue and walk the rest of it. Over there is the last mine to close here in Wanlockhead. It is a lead mine, and it's responsible for producing over 50,000 tonnes of lead in a 50-year period going back a few hundred years. You can see as well some of the other abandoned buildings now on the hills. Fascinating to see. And then just around here a little bit more, a building that's so damaged it has been cordoned off, but I'm going to continue on and see what else there is out there. I've walked past a few of these abandoned processing plants now, and it's really interesting to read the signs because Getting the ore out of the ground was just the start. It then had to be processed. Hundreds of years ago, that processing would be done by children, and it would be done specifically by the miners' children, who would be sent to work in the mines from around about 8 years old. The heritage trail that I said I wasn't going to walk, but I have ended up doing so, has been really interesting. It is definitely the case that you could spend a day here in Wanlockhead quite easily, because you've got the museums in the village, you've got the heritage trail that takes you around the old mines and the old buildings, explains how it all worked, and then you've got just loads of hiking trails and walking paths. I was just passing the village cemetery and I haven't seen the church, so it must be somewhere a little further away, but this cemetery is incredibly old, and you can see just behind me there are actually gravestones that have sheared off. I mean, look at that. I am nearly back to where I started. I've been following this road for about 20 minutes now. Some more abandoned processing plants, perhaps. You can see a little fireplace in there somewhere, or an oven, I guess. In any event, it is starting to rain quite heavy now, so I'm going to pop the waterproofs back on. I did pass some lovely little white cottages a few minutes ago that I suspect were the miners' accommodation for when they lived here and the mining village thrived centuries ago. Right, as I said, I'm heading over here, and just down the hill is the old beam engine. Just standing now on a light railway system that presumably helped to move the extracted lead and copper and silver from the mines to the processing units. Very, very interesting place. And then just up this hill, it is the original beam engine that was used to extract water from the mines. So obviously, if you're digging down hundreds of feet and you're a miner way down there, if you come into water, that is not good. So this device right here was used to bring that water up to the surface of the earth here, and then it would deliver it into a nearby stream, most likely. You can see it's all set up here. This was the area that it all used to work in. As I said, really incredible to see this piece of history. It's part of the museum that is in the village centre. What a road. That was the Mennock Pass, and I would have shown you even more of it, but the weather was terrible whilst I was driving. I tried to show you what I could, so hopefully I've got some good shots, but I am now in the Neath Valley, and I am in a place called Sanquhar, I think it's called. It is a town with a population of about 2,000 people. I'm currently on the high street, and there are a couple of really interesting things to see here. One is the Georgian Tolbooth, and the other is a very special post office. I'll tell you why both of them are worth seeing as I take a walk around the town. I've spotted the first one already. That's the post office. Looks like just any normal post office in any normal Scottish town, but it's actually the oldest working post office in the world. There we go, a little sign above the door. The world's oldest working post office, operating continuously since 1712. Unfortunately though, it's closed at the moment. It's a Tuesday and it's just gone 1 o'clock, which means they've closed for the day. And just behind me now is the Georgian Tolbooth built in 1735 and financed by the Duke of Queensberry. It is the most incredible building, I would say, of the town. Inside is a museum looking back at the town's history. The weather's not been great, but I have been lucky in that it has mostly rained whilst I've been in the car. So, with that in mind, it's been nice in the town while I've been here, but the storm clouds are starting to brew again and I've got to get on. So, I am going to head now for Loch Doon. I've arrived at my final destination in this video. This behind me is Loch Doon Castle. Loch Doon is just behind the camera. I'll show that in a few moments. What's fascinating about this castle is that historically it was built in the 13th century. It was built way out there on one of the islands in the loch. And it wasn't until the 1930s that they decided that they wanted to turn the loch into a reservoir, and therefore they raised the water level by about 8 meters, which is 27 feet. But if they did that, it would have flooded the castle and it would have been underwater. So they decided to take apart the castle and then rebuild it on the new shore of the loch. Just making my way around the back here. It is incredibly peaceful. As I've said before, this is part of my Southwest Coastal 300 road trip, and it is a blinder so far. Look at that. You can see the entrance to the castle right here at the back. I'm not sure if I'm actually inside of Galloway National Forest or just on the outskirts, but it is a phenomenal place, and I can see just up there above me, look at those hills. Man, I'd love to go hiking up there, but there isn't the time today. I am going to call it a day. I'll take you down to the loch and just show you around there. I might even launch the drone and see if I can find that original castle. But it has been a crazy day, very enjoyable day on the Southwest Coastal 300. In the next video, I am going to be heading to Ayr to have a look around the city and its history. And also later on in the series, I'm hoping to dive into the National Forest, Galloway National Forest, and do a little bit of exploring, including hiking its highest peak. So we'll see how that goes. But as I said, I'll show you the loch, and then I'll see you in the next video. Thanks very much for joining me, and a very good afternoon from Loch Doon Castle.